Coming up on your favorite podcast, it's the PGA Preview Pod. We get set for the Rocket Mortgage Classic at the Detroit Country Club or the Country Club of Detroit. I don't know what the hell it's called, but it's going to be fine. It's Ty and I, and actually we have a great guest this week. At least we hope so. We think so. We think it's going to be a great one. We have Tim Merritt, who's going to join the podcast for about 15, 20 minutes to talk about life as a caddy on the tour. Tim, the younger brother of Troy Merritt. Troy Merritt, of course, journeyman PGA Tour professional, a guy that we really like on the pod. We root for every single week, currently 91st on the FedEx Cup money list, meaning he is safely in to get his card for next year as long as everything goes right. But we want to talk to Tim about caddy life. We want to ask him about, kind of the process of like going to an event and walking through the ropes, favorite courses that he's been to, all that cool stuff. And we're hoping that we get a good story or two. We're looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we've got that. Plus, Ty's golf game is back, and my game is kind of back. So we got a lot to talk about there once we get into the pod. And then, of course, we'll make our picks for the Rocket Mortgage Classic this week. So it's all next on the pod. Hey, it's the Tim Anderson Podcast. I'm Tim. That is Ty of Ty Schrupp, the insurance agent to the stars. He is over at his palatial estate. What a heck of a weekend. We're coming up on the 4th of July, and it is the PGA Preview Pod. So glad you could be with us again this week. Tyus, hello.
Hey, Tim, I always say this, I'm a broken record, but I really am excited for the podcast today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. It was actually a really fun week of golf that we're coming off of. Obviously, we have kind of an action-packed episode here. And as we'll talk about, I don't hate the Rocket Mortgage Classic. So, yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting one. You and I, big fans of the Travelers. Yep. Not necessarily a big fan of, I don't know if I love the 18th hole, and I don't know if I love this. I know why the PGA does it, but I'm not a fan of like playing the same two holes over and over again in a playoff. Like, go back to your best hole and start there. And 15 is far and away their best hole. How is 15 not one of the 4 or 5? I'm fine with you going back and playing 18 first. But if you can't settle it on 18, go to 14 or 15 and start there and just play your way in. Like, I'm in on that.
Yeah, and I know you're not planning for 8-hole playoffs, but it was very clear on the broadcast that they were making it up as they went along, as the rules official or tournament official was coming up to the players and saying, "Hey, change of plans. We're actually going to go to 16 after this," and so on and so forth. Like I said, a little bit sloppy. I was all for the 8. It was a great playoff. I love that they weren't matching bogeys. You had to make a birdie to win, and finally somebody did. There were lots of ebbs and flows, and it was a really fun playoff and fun to see a couple guys that really don't share the spotlight very often. So I'm a big fan of both of those guys coming out of it.
It's kind of indicative, though, of how this season has gone, that you'd have a bunch of guys who can't close, and they'd be just splitting pars with each other for 8 holes. I credit Harris English. He made a birdie at 18 to post a number. I'll give him credit for that, because I haven't been the world's biggest Harris English fan in the world. But to his credit, he made a putt to get there, and then obviously it took him 8 holes, but he made a putt to win it. So I'm going to give Harris English his due. It's high time I probably start giving him respect. He's got 2 wins in the calendar year, and if you were picking a Ryder Cup team right now, his resume is far and away better than maybe 7 or 8 different guys that people are being like. It's better than Xander Schauffele's, and I mean Xander's going to make the team, but Harris English's record is better. It's better than Tony Finau's. I mean, I can name about 8 guys that it's better than.
Yeah, and this is a topic for a little bit larger slot of time, but I think Harris English is for the most part, whether it's him bullying his way in or other people fading, I think he's, for the most part, cemented his spot on the Ryder Cup team. I think, again, it's not that Harris English has been a force and you'd be stupid not to have him. I just don't think anyone else has made that charge. And in terms of FedEx Cup points and Ryder Cup points, he's really kind of cemented, at least in that clear captain's pick range, where I don't think that they're going to have I don't think Steve Stricker is going to have a whole lot of choice there, but to bring him to Wisconsin.
Yeah, I mean, Stricker, again, every week that goes by, I feel like it gets more and more muddled. And I feel like Stricker's going to be in a position where, I mean, he's going to have to make some interesting calls because do you go with name brands? Do you go with guys that are on form? You're right. It's a conversation for a later time. But again, I continue to not be envious of the United States in this situation. I just don't like their chances this year. I just don't see a lot of guys on form. Another week where DJ looks really average. Koepka's kind of up and down depending on the tournament. He played pretty well this week. But again, Xander, nowhere to really be found. Cantlay's putter just betrays him far too often. There's just not a lot to love after, as we wind down this season.
It's been really a season full of that, even more so than, there was a lot of excuses made for last season. Hey, it's a weird season, so, you really don't know what you're going to get. This season has been more of the same, right? I mean, I'm falling in love with new players every single week, and it doesn't typically go that way, right? I mean, typically you can kind of cement the top 10 in any given tournament, and the winner is going to come from that top 10. That's just typically how it goes. But it hasn't been the case for this season at all. I'm not saying Harris English didn't come into this week as a top 10, but there were a lot of guys who had a chance there at the end who would not have been in the top 10, as far as odds makers go. So it's been an overly disappointing year for the big names. No one has really stepped up. I think that, you might disagree, but I just don't know who the golfer of the year is going to be. At this point, I have no clue.
Yeah, I don't know either. I couldn't. I mean, Rahm maybe is the number one player in the world, and, he won the U.S. Open, so maybe it's Rahm. But again, who could say? I think you could make a case for a bunch of guys. Cantlay's won twice. Spieth has been the most steady. I don't know. Like, I just don't know where to go on this. It's still wide open with 7-8 weeks left to go. Good for Troy Merritt. Got a good finish. He's up to 90, I think, first now, which is pretty solid. I think he's in pretty solidly for the top 125, and probably to keep his card. And speaking of Troy Merritt, we've got a guest coming in. This is very exciting for both you and I, Ty. We've been keeping it on the down low because we wanted to make sure it would happen, but we have it. Great guest. Ty, why don't you please introduce our guest?
Thanks, Tim. There's too many T's on this podcast. I'm going to get people's names mixed up, but Tim is a friend of mine. Our wives are friends. Tim is brother of PGA Tour 13-year veteran, two-time winner, PGA Tour, Troy Merritt. As I talk to you, Tim, we're going to try to focus a little bit on you because we're enthralled with the whole caddy thing. We talk a lot about caddies on the show, the forgotten art of being a caddy. Troy and Tim are both graduates of Spring Lake Park High School. Go Panthers, same as I. So that's where we met. Sort of cemented in the FedEx Cup standings this year, Troy Merritt. I do have a question, though, for you, Tim. Welcome to the pod.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad to be here.
So speaking of caddies, a caddy has cemented himself in the news this week. Eric Larson, if you know that name. Eric Larson spent 10 years in prison for mailing cocaine from Florida to his friends in Wisconsin. Speaking of caddy life, have you ever done that?
No. No. And if I spent 10 years in prison, it would be about 100 years in the basement of my mom's house locked away. So being an adult, she would still whip my ass about that one.
Well, so yeah, you've been there. Speaking of palatial estates, Tim, the owner of the Tim Anderson podcast, always gives me shit because of my palatial estate. Speaking of palatial estates, Tim Merritt is in between palatial estates. He's there in his in-laws' basement with I'm sure his wife, who may be at work, and his child. And I don't know if I can break the news of a child incoming. So a lot going on over there. And again, he is building the ultimate estate in Blaine behind Bolero. So stay tuned for that. I can't wait for the housewarming party.
Oh, Tim, we're going to be neighbors, dude. That's fantastic. I'm not that far up the road. This is going to be a great time. I can't wait.
Perfect. It's going to be a nice little drawing board with an unfinished basement. Maybe there can be a golf simulator down there if I can convince my wife to get that in.
You're going to want to do
It'd
that.
be a beautiful thing.
Yeah, you're going to want to do that, and then you're going to want to invite us over.
Oh, of course.
We'll do the podcast from your basement. And we'll just do that in between swings. We'll just start doing this. I got to ask you this at the top, because you did caddy for your brother in many locations for a while on tour. I got to be really honest with you. I wouldn't ask my brother to carry my luggage from the airport terminal to the trunk of my car, or I wouldn't ask him to carry a bag of groceries into my house because I just don't trust him enough to handle that. How is that relationship with your brother that he actually comes to you and says, "Younger brother, I'm trusting you with my bag of golf clubs"? How did that come about?
Surprisingly enough, we've had that relationship ever since we were growing up. We were, me being the youngest of us, and then there was one in between us. My oldest brother, Troy, and I, we would always play sports together, and we kind of built that trust with each other that, we're going to have each other's backs no matter what. When he called me up in 2012, when I didn't have a job and I was going back to school and kind of didn't know what I wanted to do in the world, he said, "You want to carry the bag?" I said, "Sure, if you let me." And there might have been that trust to let me carry the bag, but he was always behind me. So I don't know if he trusted me, but he was there the entire time I was carrying it too, from hotel to car, out of the car into the airport. No matter when I had the bag, he was right there. So there was trust to carry it, but he was always right there too to see where his clubs were going.
I'm fascinated by that in the sense that you guys obviously have a good relationship. You guys must have played a lot of sports together. I must have played a lot of golf together. Was it a situation where you knew his game better than anybody else? Is that why Troy maybe looked to you?
I don't know about that, because Troy was always a good golfer. When we were growing up, he played a different game than he does now, and then when he did when I was caddying for him. And when he went out to Boise State, I was senior in high school, so I really didn't see him get to play that much from when he really turned it on to become a professional. His game completely changed from when he was in high school to when he became professional. I think it was a situation where he wanted to help a brother out, literally. He knew that I really didn't have a direction, and I was I wouldn't say struggling to get through school, but it was going to take me a while to get through school, and didn't really know what I wanted to do with my degree. So he called me up and said, "Hey, I'll give you a place to stay, and we can go do this tour thing together." And he was in between caddies at the time. His previous caddy just got married and wanted to start a family, so he stepped down, and seemed like a good fit at the time, being a single person that I was and 22 years old. No better way to just go travel the world with your brother and carry 14 sticks around.
Say, I'm sensing a theme here. So his previous caddy steps away to start a family. You carry the bag for him for a few years. You step away to start a family. Is it fair to call your brother the good luck Chuck of PGA Tour?
Yeah, because as soon as I stepped away, the caddy he has now in Wayno, he started a family pretty much right after they got on the bag with Troy. So it seems to be that way with Good Luck Chuck, but at least Wayno's sticking around for this one.
Well, that's good. I think they're a good match.
How long did how long did you carry the bag?
I was on the bag for 2 years. I carried on what is now the Korn Ferry. It used to be the web.com when I was on the bag. And then a PGA Tour for 1 year.
I've heard a lot of stories about web.com, Korn Ferry caddies, just about the money that is. If you are a guy who's doing okay on the Korn Ferry Tour, like a top 10, top 15 guy, that the money's not terrible, but you go down the line from there and it can get really dicey really quickly. And same thing for those kind of bottom guys on the PGA Tour. Walk us through a little bit of caddy life on starting with the web.com or the Korn Ferry, because that you got to do that because you love it, right?
Yep. Yeah, and I can't really speak to the low end of the web.com tour life on the caddy side of things because I was spoiled being that Troy was my brother. He took care of a lot of things for me. I didn't have to worry about travel arrangements or hotels or anything like that. He kind of put the bill for those. But just listening to other caddies talk on tour when we were down there, it would be 4 or 5 guys renting a car from place to place. It would be either staying in a car with another guy or 4 or 5 guys renting one hotel room and bumming it there. But yeah, it definitely is a struggle for a lot of guys trying to get out there, and it's hopefully you pick the right player or the right player picks you and you can go places with them. I know right before I got on the bag, Troy's previous caddy had a job interview, so he had to pick up some random guy at the tournament, and they called him Green Van because he was literally living out of his green van. And I think Troy got tied for 8th in that last tournament on the web.com, which solidified at least a couple starts the next year for him on the web.com. And he wrote the Green Van a check, and Green Van said, "Can I go cash this right now?" And Troy said, "Yeah, there's money in my account. Go ahead. It's yours. You earned it." Where he wasn't used to cashing checks right away because the finances weren't necessarily there for him. So, yeah, it can be a big struggle for those low-end guys on the web.com.
And so you make it to the PGA Tour. I got to assume for Troy this was obviously a big thing because obviously making it to the tour is what all the players want to do. But for a caddy, I mean, is it just as big a thing for a caddy to be at a place like Riviera or a place like Pebble or something like that? Is it just as big for you as it was for him? Did you guys both have a moment where you had to sit there and kind of take it in?
Oh, yeah. Well, Troy had been on tour a couple years prior before I picked up the bag, so he knew he'd played all those courses already. But he gave me kind of the behind-the-scenes look to a lot of places where you hear about, like the Pebbles, the Torrey Pines of the world, where you don't see it on TV as much as you do when you're actually on the course or on the greens reading a putt or just looking at the scenery. That was an eye-opener, and that was my first year on tour or my only year on tour. That's kind of what it was. It was, "Hey, Troy, I'm doing this to help you out too, but this is amazing. I'm going to be a tourist too at the same time because these are a lot of cool places you're taking me." Yeah, and it's kind of just eye-opening and take it in. Pebble Beach is probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. It's amazing, to say the least.
It's $500 and some odd to play a round of golf at Pebble Beach. Can I ask you if it's worth it?
If you're going to go spend the week at Pebble Beach on Monterey Peninsula and play Pebble once, yes, I would say it's worth doing it once in your lifetime. If you're going every other weekend to go down there, no. But if you're going to go play once in your lifetime, yes, it's definitely worth the $500 something. And you can't just play Pebble though. You got to play all the other courses on Monterey Peninsula too, because they're all beautiful.
Oh man, that's going to get expensive quick, Tim. Can I borrow some money if we're going to do that? That would be the better way to do it. Hey, can you?
I'm just a.
Go ahead.
I say I'm just a school teacher now, so that money's not really available. But maybe I can dip into the pockets of my brother.
See, me too, man. We're a couple of school teachers here. This is, I understand this challenge that we have here. This is going to be very difficult. Troy's got to hook us up. This is where Troy's got to come through here and make something happen.
Yep.
Can I ask? Because Ty and I have talked about this a lot. Walk us through one day in a golf tournament for you. Like, what time do you get to the course? Kind of, what is a caddy's responsibility? I've heard from guys like Michael Greller have said like it's actually pretty boring for the most part. You just sit there and watch your guy hit balls for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Is that really it, or is there more to it than that?
Oh, well, it depends on how well you want to do your job. The way I caddied for Troy, it was keep up and shut up kind of thing. Being a mediocre golfer, a little above average, but mediocre in the eyes of Troy, it was carry my bag. If I need your advice, I'll ask you. And I had no problem with that because I was along for the ride. His caddy now, Wayno, it's a lot more involved. Wayno spends, if it's a 4-hour round, Wayno's probably there for about 8. He'll go walk the course, throw balls around, get greens read, things like that, yardages. I didn't necessarily do that. My time was on Troy's time, being that he rented the car most of the time, so I wasn't on the docket to drive the car. So when Troy was at the course, I was at the course. When Troy was gone, I was gone. So for me, it was kind of like Michael Greller. I'd go watch Troy hit balls, clean his clubs. If you ask me a question, answer the questions, and kind of keep up. And that's what it was. But his caddy now is a lot more involved and does a great job with it.
Feels like that big brother relationship really comes into play in these situations, doesn't it? Because, yes, he's got the money, but he's also the player, and he's big brother. So this is what I was worried about, Tim, because I watch like the Mickelsons, and I'm like, man, I could not spend that much damn time with my brother under any circumstances because I just get so sick and tired of listening to the constant whatever. Any brotherly quarrels ever, or were you just like, nah, dude, we're good. I'm just happy to be here?
Most of the time we're good. We spent literally, when we were on the road, we were with each other 99% of the time, unless I wanted to go work out and he didn't. That'd be the only time we were apart. We'd go to dinner together, breakfast, lunch, on the course all day together. And that was always our relationship. I mean, we grew up 4 years apart from each other, so we never really had the same school friends. We were never really in the same school ever. So our relationship was at home, and we play sports together. And that's where we bonded. And on the golf course, same thing. We bonded on the golf course. So we really never had any quarrels, brotherly quarrels. We could have conversations with each other. We were playing, what was the game back in the day? Words with Friends. Yeah. We would do that, and he'd be in the next hotel bed sitting right next to me. And we were playing online Words with Friends instead of just bringing a Scrabble thing with us. So, I mean, we had that relationship where we can do that. There was one time in Brazil, Sao Paulo, Brazil, where he had a number he added wrong, or he subtracted wrong. He was supposed to add to his number instead of subtract, and I had the right number, and he came up about 10 yards short of the green, and he looked at me, he's like, did you get a different number? I was like, yeah, and the F-bomb came out for the first time. He's like, why the fuck didn't you say something? I didn't know I was supposed to say anything. Now I know. So that was about, I think, 3 months into our first year together, and I learned very quickly if I have a different number than him, I'm just going to double check, because most of the time I'm going to be wrong because he's been doing this forever. But just going to double check. If I'm wrong, I'll admit it. If you're wrong, we'll figure it out, because we're not going to hit a shot 10 yards short on my watch anymore. So that was the one time where he kind of cussed me out and looked at me, and I became the actual caddy and not the brother anymore. But other than that, we had a pretty good relationship on tour.
I love that stuff. And you traveling to Brazil, that is so cool, all the different places, because you just think on the PGA Tour you're just playing, here in the lower 48, but when you get on the web.com, they do go to some different places. And so what other places did you get to?
Oh, yeah. So we went down to Sao Paulo, Brazil. We went to Santiago, Chile, León, Mexico. I recommend going to León for the food truck that sat outside the hotel, the Hilton. That was amazing. It was better than the hotel food. But don't walk the golf course down there. I would suggest getting a cart, because it's at, 7,500 feet above elevation. So it's up there, and it's a hike. I was just fresh out of basketball, and I was deep breathing. I played college basketball 4 years and pretty good shape, and I was huffing and puffing on that course. But so those are the three spots that I went to. There were others. Troy played in Panama and Colombia. I didn't go down for those ones, but he's played in a lot of the South America places for the web.com. But yeah, the PGA Tour, we focused more on the main 48.
Is there something that a caddy does, or that a caddy's responsible for, that like guys like me and Ty, we just don't know or don't appreciate, don't respect when we watch it on TV?
You're a servant when you're a caddy. You're serving your player. You're making your player the most comfortable as you can. So there are many times where I'm running to water coolers to grab water bottles for himself, myself, trying to keep hydrated. Food, snacks. I was in charge of going to the grocery store and putting some trail mix stuff together for Troy. Did he eat it? No, but it was there for him. So at least it was there. Stuff like that. Making sure that everything's ready to go for the round. You got enough golf balls. Your golf balls are marked. You have 14 clubs to play with, not 15. Just small things like that a lot of people don't really think about when you go play. Because, I play amateur golf right now, and I play 15 clubs because I can't choose if I want my 2-iron or 3-iron in the bag. So I keep them both in there. Right? If you do that on tour, it's penalty stroke every hole. So small things like that.
Yeah, that's a no-no. Thanks for answering that. So I want to go back to kind of the angle of the exotic places you played. So and this might be less as a caddy and more as a family member or a brother or a confidant of a PGA Tour player, but when it comes to setting your schedule as a PGA Tour player, What goes into that? I mean, is it trying to limit the travel miles? Is it chasing weak fields when it comes to making sure you're exempt in FedEx Cup points? Like, what goes into making a schedule for a PGA Tour player who's not of the Jon Rahm status or Rory McIlroy, where they don't really have to worry about it, exemption and status?
Right. I would say yes to all the above. You're going to pick courses that suit your game, so you're going to get the most points. You're going to get the biggest bang for your buck. My year on tour, Troy had conditional status, so anytime he was in the field, we were going to go play. Didn't matter the course, didn't matter where it was at, we were going to go play because it was his opportunity to go play because he wasn't going to get very many. After we got second place at the St. Jude's in Memphis, it was a little easier because I would say we solidified our FedEx appearance at that point. We were a little on the board bubble, but we did solidify it. He had a little more comfortability with choosing different places where he wanted to go play. Granted, the courses that we had left were courses that he liked, like the Greenbrier, the Canadian Open, places like that, where he was going to probably go play anyway, but he had a little more leeway to choose his schedule. I remember talking to him after he had his first tour victory out in the Quicken Loans, and he was very happy that he had the opportunity to pick his schedule for next year. He didn't just have to go play. He got to pick the places where he liked to play. So he was happy about that and said, "Oh, I'd like to do this every year." He's like, "Yeah, we'd like to see you do that every year too, because then we know you have a job and it's going to be a good one." So, yeah, it's kind of all the above for guys like Troy. Normally fighting around the bubble, I'm going to go play where I can and when I can.
Well, us too. We're rooting for Troy every week. We talk about him on the pod all the time. We're
awesome.
Big Troy Merritt fans, as you know. So I want to turn you into a name dropper. You've told me some stories, but drop some names here. Tell us, who are the big names that you've walked with?
Ricky Fowler was always one that Troy liked to be around. His personality is so bubbly, and it meshes so well with so many different people. We played a couple practice rounds with him when I was on tour with Troy. His caddy, Troy calls him Joe. He calls him Sunshine. Great guy. Loves to goof around. So him and Troy mesh very well. They bond quite well when they play together. Bryce Garnett. I don't know if you know that name, but he's been on tour for a little while. Same about as Troy. Great guy to be around. Positive attitude no matter what's going on. We played with Jordan Spieth down in San Antonio for the final round on Sunday, and that was my starstruck moment because that was when Jordan was playing really well when he was younger, and it was, I don't know how to do my job anymore because we're playing with Jordan right now. I'm going to keep up and I'm going to stare at Jordan the entire time and see what he's doing. So Jordan Spieth was one, and then we played with Justin Leonard at the Greenbrier for one round. He would probably be the guy that I would say is the best to play with. I didn't play very well when we played with him, but Mr. Positivity. Troy had great shots, and Justin let him know because, I mean, Justin being the Ryder Cup guy that he is, it was a confidence boost to hear good shot from Justin all the time. So it's nice playing with those types of guys.
It's interesting that, you try to think about, like, what are the horses for courses kind of thing for Troy, a guy like Troy, and then we talked a little bit about, just picking venues and spots, and it's like, it seems like he likes, like tree-lined kind of classic courses. They obviously won at Congressional. I think it was Congressional. It wasn't at Avenal Farms, right, when he won at Quicken Loans?
No, it was
Potomac,
it wasn't
TPC
Congressional.
Potomac?
No, it wasn't Potomac. They've only played there once. I can't remember the name of the course, but it was tree-lined. It was in Virginia.
Oh, yeah, that year they played at that Robert Trent Jones or something like that, right? Or was it something like that?
Yes.
Yeah, and then he should have won like the Reno Open. He should have won the Barracuda like twice, which is like one of these weird tree-lined, quirky, funky courses. And then of course he's won at the Barbasol, which is a Robert Trent Jones kind of a classic course. So like he's clearly got a thing. Is that something? Have you picked up on that? Have you talked with? Like, has he talked about the kind of course he likes to play?
We never really talked about it, but it was easier for us to play those types of courses when you have a defined eyesight off the tee where you can't miss left or right and you have to be precise. It's easier for him to see that line and hit that line. Where he struggled when I was on the bag, he struggled on the web.com when we played Nicklaus courses where they're a little more open and big fairways. It was harder for him to pick those lines of sight for him to get off the tee, and that's when you get a little more wayward. So it seems like the tighter the course, and Troy's always been a good T-ball player. He finds fairways most of the time, but it seems like it's easier for him when it's tree lined, when it's tight.
And is that
except Torrey? When we played Torrey, he sucked. When I was on the bat, he couldn't find the fairway worth the life of him. But
hey, can you answer this though? Torrey's boring, isn't it? I mean, it's just kind of a boring golf course, isn't it? It's just what I felt after watching the U.S. Open.
Yeah, it's flat and not a whole lot of trouble around. There's really no water. The scenery is beautiful. You're right there on the coastline. That's about it. But as a golf course goes, yeah, there's nothing really to it. It's just long and tight. And the danger there is the rough going up, and you can't get anywhere because it's so long. But yeah, it is. I wouldn't say a boring course, but it's kind of just there.
Tyus?
Hey, Tim, are you okay doing a quick lightning round before we let you go?
For sure.
I know I've said this 10 times, but thanks so much for doing this. This is insight that you just can't get from the other Tim and I.
Yeah, we're just about.
I know, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you going deep into the memory bank because I know it's been 7 years you've been out as we texted about, but you're doing a good job. So I appreciate you taking that deep dive. So quick lightning round, no time limit, just quick answers off the cuff. We'll start with favorite course that you've walked.
I would have to say Spyglass on the Monterey Peninsula. That Pebble Beach, Monterey Peninsula courses, scenery. I mean, it's not the easiest walk in the world. There's a little bit of hills in Spyglass, but just the pure beauty of it, it's amazing.
Good choice. Least favorite course?
I'd have to say that Leon course. I can't even remember the name of it. El Bosque down in Leon, Mexico. The 10th hole is about a 10-degree incline with a 300-yard walk to get to the top of the hill, and it's at 7,500 feet. You're gassed by the end of it.
Woof. No thanks. All right. Best caddy you've walked with?
Best caddy? Personality-wise, I'd have to go with Wayno. Wayno was on Andrew Loop's bag when I was on the bag for Troy, and his personality shines. He's the only caddy to ever beat me in a caddy race. Hard worker, I'd have to go with him too. He's one of the most hardworking guys out there from what I've seen and what Troy tells me about him.
So there was a recent Golf Digest player poll about the nicest players on tour. So who gets your vote, nicest player on tour, besides Troy?
Well, to me, it wouldn't be Troy because he chewed me out that one time. Nicest guys to play with, I would say Spieth, or that we played with that I have experience with would be Spieth or Justin Leonard. Even if they have a bad day, they're not going to let you know about it. They're going to cheer you on and they want to play against the best. So they want you to do their best as they do theirs. So they know what the game's about, and it's nice to see guys be courteous and happy for you when you hit good shots and not upset.
That's nice because I have kind of a boy crush with Jordan Spieth. I'd hate to hear that it was destroyed by nonsense out on the golf course.
No, Spieth was good to play with. He was still young at that time, so you'd still hear him talking to himself and get upset about him.
Still does
about
that.
Some shots, but yeah, he's had some maturing to do. But when it push come to shove, when somebody else was hitting a shot, he was quiet and cheering you on because he wanted to play against you at your best.
Very good. Any that went the other way? Any jerks?
I've always had some animosity against Patrick Reed. I don't know why.
Really? No way.
This was before. I mean, when I was on tour with Troy, this was before all of the cheating allegations came out. It just seemed like on the range and in practice rounds, Patrick Reed cared about Patrick Reed and not anybody else around him. So I just got not a good vibe from him. And nothing against him. I'm sure if I met him in person, it might be different, but just that feeling.
Tim, these are shocking revelations. Nobody has ever said this about Patrick Reed. How dare you?
No, not at all.
That's not fair. That's low-hanging fruit. All right. Well, that's fine. All right. Another question. Have you ever met Bubba Watson?
Nope. I've never met Bubba. Met Bubba's wife a couple times, but never met Bubba.
She towered over you. She's like a power. She played WNBA.
Quickest way to get fired by your...
Quickest way to get fired by the player? Oh...
Yep.
Give him a wrong number. Don't shut up when he tells you to shut up. Don't keep up when he tells you to keep up. It's the list can go on and on. Don't bug him. If you get on the bad side, try to get on the good side as fast as possible.
This has happened with LPGA golfers, sometimes on the PGA Tour, but a lot on the LPGA where, like, mid-round, like, caddies are fired. Like, I think Nelly Korda got rid of her caddy a couple years ago in the middle of a round, and somebody else just finished the rest of the round. Has that happened on your watch at a tournament? Have you heard, like, oh, by the way, blah, 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 just fired his caddy on, like, the 12th hole, and some dude from the crowd just looped it for the rest of the way? Is that doesn't happen as much on this tour, does it?
You don't hear much of it on the PGA Tour because guys are more mature. They're more business-oriented. Web.com, you heard of it sometimes. I never experienced it personally. I heard of it. And it seemed like when it happened, it wasn't the player running the show. It was the group behind the player running the show. So I know Sung you'll know.
Oh yeah.
When I was on the bag, I don't think he spoke English at the time 7 years ago. I don't know if he does now, but his sister spoke English, and I think it was his father spoke English, and had some quarrels with the caddy and sent the caddy packing during the round. So I don't know if it was his choice or just the group behind the player, but it seemed like the younger the player, the more it was the group behind him.
It's a long walk back.
Hopefully the guy in the green van was close by.
There are normally a couple guys waiting in the parking lot.
Oh,
Tim Anderson, that has got to be our mission.
That's
Why not?
it. No, it's
just
the
go
whole
sit
thing.
in the parking lot.
We're going to do that at the 3M. I mean, no doubt Troy's going to play the 3M, right? I mean, he's going to be here. So we're just going to hang out because we're just going to show up and hang out there at the 3M, and we'll just wait. We'll just wait for something to happen. Maybe Wayne takes sick. Maybe he accidentally steps on something wrong and has to get off the bag for the day.
Then you got to get in line then.
Behind you? Do you think you call him first?
I was a
I think he's got his
teacher
backup
for a reason. I got my summers free. If he calls me up, I'm going.
Oh, bro, I hear you 100%. We got to play golf sometime here now that I know you're a school teacher and your schedule's my schedule. We got to make this happen. This is going to be great.
Don't expect a Troy Merritt coming out. I just shot 48 tonight at league, so it's nothing special.
Well, good. Then I feel better. I feel better about it. I don't have to give you any strokes then. That's nice. I like that. Hey, last one. My early broadcasting career, I remember watching a young Troy Merritt play basketball for Spring Lake Park. I was calling games for Fridley and Totino Grace. So I've seen him many times. But I got to know, better basketball player. Is it you? Is it Troy?
Ooh. All-around basketball player myself. More athletic, more physical, bigger. Pure shooter, Troy, by far. There's two people I haven't beaten pig in my life, and it's Troy and my father.
He was a shooter. Yeah, he was just like guy just daggered you from the outside. I just remember that, and I just was wondering, if that was are you more of a guard, like a point guard, a slasher? Is that your game?
No. In high school I developed to be a setup shooter because we had Sean Jensen come through. So Sean was the guy that got to the hole, and I was the 3-point shooter in the corner if he didn't get all the way there. College was the same thing. If it wasn't a three, I wasn't going to shoot it because it was probably a dunk. It was one of the two. So I developed later in life to be a shooter. When I was growing up, it was more get to the basket and try to get fouled and get to the line.
God, what a factory that Spring Lake Park basketball program is. I got to tell you, it has become just a factory. It's such good stuff. Tim, this was awesome, dude. I really appreciated your time.
No problem.
Ty and I will certainly be in touch. And if we need to get you back on for more caddy, if there's a caddy controversy anytime in the next few months, whatever, you're our guy. We're calling you.
All right.
And we're going to get the inside track, and you are welcome on this podcast anytime.
Awesome. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, Tim. See you later.
Thanks, Tim.
Yep,
Appreciate your time. Tim Merritt joining the podcast. Tyus, that was fantastic, dude. That is awesome.
Yeah, that was fun.
A lot of deep, some of the deep stuff about caddying right there. We were able to, I think, get a lot of questions in on Tim there.
Yeah, we did.
And now that I know he shoots a 48 in league, I feel like we can take him.
He's better than that. I've seen Tim golf. He's a good golfer. So now that he's gone, I can talk nicely about him. That Merritt family, the crazy part is, of him and his wife, he's the lesser of the athletic. His wife, 3-sport athlete, Athena Award winner. She's crazy athletic. We play volleyball against Tim and Alyssa. Great athlete. Their kids are going to be so athletic. It's not fair.
Just another one of them days where it makes me I love my dad, but it makes me just want to go kick him right in the nuts because I'm 5'7". I'm 5'7" with no athletic ability whatsoever. I hit a drive 240 yards. One time, just want a taste of some of that greatness. But boy, how do you not root for Troy, Tim, everybody? Pretty easy to root for at this point. That was great stuff. Great stuff. Were you surprised by any of that, Ty?
Right. I mean, every time I'm with Tim, I'm kind of peppering him with questions. I think my wife gets a little bit turned off anytime I ask anything about golf because she knows it's coming. So that's why it was nice to get him in this situation because, she's not here to stop me. So it was all golf all the time. Not a whole lot that surprised me. I guess it surprised me a little bit to know that they had kind of that relationship where he maybe wasn't the average caddy, and that could just be the difference between the tours. That's probably pretty similar for a Korn Ferry Tour player to where the caddy is just, hey, you're not going to make $1 million, just kind of carry my bag, be an okay guy to be around and shut up when I need you to shut up. I was interested to hear that was their relationship, and he didn't, it wasn't as much of a 50-50 as many of I think some of the PGA Tour players are with their caddy where, they really probably bring them in 10, 15, 20 times around, like a Michael Greller, probably Tim Mickelson to a point and many others. So that did surprise me a little bit, but it's also your older brother. So it's not that surprising from that perspective.
It's kind of fun to hear that there was really like a boss relationship there. Like it was brother, no doubt, probably brother off the course, but on the course, it sounded like boss.
Right.
So, which I guess when you're financing everything, I guess I understand that. But boy, if you're not rooting for Troy Merritt now, the rest of the season, we are. We're adopting Troy on this podcast. He's our guy. Like that's
right.
it. That's all there is to it. If he wasn't already as sort of the ceremonial representative golfer of the PGA Preview Pod, he is now. Like we're all in on Troy Merritt the rest of the way. I need him to win the Open so we can feel better. By the way, I see you're wearing your glasses today across the way. Those look like they are heavy prescription. Did you lose your sight in the last week? Those look like big lenses you got in there, big frames. What's happening in there?
Yeah, I have terrible eyesight. I always have. I typically wear contacts, but I have some Coke bottles that I have to wear when my eyes dry out.
It looks like that scene in Hot Shots where John Cryer plays the guy who has walleye vision, and they have to give him those gigantic glasses with the water and the fish. I was just waiting for that to happen. Oh, man.
Everyone tells me I look like the kid from Christmas Story.
Yes! Ralphie! Oh, I love it. Oh, goodness gracious. Hey, you said your golf games come back. You text me this week, and it was like a celestial choir went off in the background. You said your game has returned. No longer are you talking about selling the equipment. You're back.
Nope.
You got to tell me about it.
Nope, we're bullish on the game. After one round, I didn't want to hype it up too much. It felt a little bit anecdotal, but we're back. We've had 2 rounds, albeit a shortened second round. We'll get into that here in just a second. But we played golf on Monday. Not the hardest course. It's Shamrock Hills, I think is what it's called. It's in Corcoran, west of Maple Grove.
Shamrock, yeah.
I'd equate it. Yep, I'd equate it to like a Hidden Haven.
Yeah, no bunker.
There's
like 2 bunkers on the golf course, like one right in front of a green, I think. But other than that, there's no bunkers out there. It's a lot like the old Ramshackle Sandbrook that we played, except in better shape.
Yeah, and a little bit less trouble off the tee. And certainly in better shape. The greens were in good shape, a little brown, but you can't fault the golf course for that right now. So 7 holes in, we got rained out, unfortunately, and the rain did pass, but of course they were buttoning everything up for league that night, so we had to get the old proverbial rain check. But we were dialed in. We did not miss a fairway. We were using the hard ground to our advantage, and homeboy was 3 under after 7 holes, and that's with lipping out an eagle putt on 5. So
And the old putter, the new putter's coming alive then too. That means because you're draining them now.
New putter. Yep. The old I don't know what you call that, but where the shaft comes down in the middle. Yeah, seeing it well. Made a nice birdie putt on one. Again, did not miss a fairway. Just drove the ball a mile. And the key for off the tee right now is slowing down the swing. And the crazy part is I'm not losing any distance. It's just when you hit the ball straight and take the spin off it, the ball travels just as far. So
and you are, and that's a good sign for you when you're hitting the ball well. Like when you're driving it straight like that and you're hitting it 300, the golf course and golf becomes very simple. That was the whole thing when we played the other day against the two scumbags. I'm going to call them that till our next round with them. Is that we just couldn't keep it on the planet. If we could have just done that off the tee, I think we waxed the floor with those guys. But neither of us did that. So, but I've never worried about you when you're in play. Because you're always going to hit I think you're always going to hit a competent iron shot for the most part. And a pretty solid wedge. Like, you know what you're doing around the greens. And you can putt.
Yeah, it felt good. It was disappointing to lose it after 7 holes. We all know how this story goes, though. We weren't shooting 68 on that day. I mean, we were going to shoot a tight little 74, 75. That's just how she goes. But I would have taken the 74 or 75 given the number we won't talk about at Sandbrook. We're not. That one's out of the memory. I don't even remember what I shot. I do, but we're not going to talk about it. But it was, like I said, it was disappointing, but also I left the course with my head held high. It was really fun. So
yeah, I hate getting rained out.
We're buying high on the game.
I got rained out of a round on Saturday afternoon. I was playing Riverwood National. We were just about ready to go to the first tee, and then the deluge came, and I thought we had a little window where maybe we could play in light rain for a couple hours and make it. But as I don't mind playing in the rain as long as it's not a heavy rain. But then the heavy rain came, and then it just kept coming, and that was the end of that. So we got a rain check to play Riverwood National really soon. By the way, if you haven't played there up here in the North Metro, Ty, it's a beautiful golf course. I love it. It's one of my favorites. And we will be playing there again soon. But yeah, I made the equipment change after our round. That was the final test, the stress test of the Hogan irons. They are out of the bag. And they have been out of the bag now for 4 consecutive rounds, and I've shot 4 consecutive rounds in the high 70s. I mean, it's not perfect yet, but I'm hitting the ball a lot better. Kind of went back to the Nookie Blanky, went back to my Rogue Pros, and hitting the ball decently. So I don't know if it's all the irons. It might be other things too, but I just feel better with the equipment, and I don't know if maybe I've kind of figured out that I am what I am, and I have to just embrace the equipment that I have and just go with that.
Yeah, and that's golf. I mean, there's no surprise to that. I don't think it's a surprise to anyone who plays any decent amount of golf in a year. An iron change is not just going to affect your iron game. It's going to affect your wedges and your putter and your driver, because golf is all about confidence. So same thing with me. I needed to get my driver straightened out. I felt okay about everything else, but everything else was very poor, because that's just how golf goes. But yeah, if there was anything that was clear after that Sandbrook round from your perspective, I knew that those irons were dead, and probably a good move. Yeah, I'm glad we're both getting it back. Big deal.
It's good. It's good to get it back. It's good to feel good. It's good to feel good again, Ty. I'm super excited about it. I'm trying to come down here from the Tim Merritt interview. I had a great time with that. That was a lot of fun. We don't have guests often on the podcast, but he could be a regular if he wants. I mean, Jesus, we'll get Tim in here anytime he wants to come on here. So that was fantastic. All right.
Right.
We should. I'm trying to think if there was some big news this week that came up. By the way, we should say this. We'd be remiss if we didn't say congratulations, Nelly Korda, winning the KPMG Women's PGA Championship. Big money for Nelly. Did you bet on that one? I did bet on it in DraftKings. I came up $5 ahead in DraftKings, so thank God for that. So that was nice. There you go. Very happy. Nelly Korda is now the number 1 player in the world. First time we've really had an American number 1 player in the world in a long time. I think Nelly Korda's got a chance to be really, really good. Now, that might be too soon, because we thought that about Lexi Thompson. I think we thought that about Paula Creamer to a certain extent, Stacey Lewis. Nelly Korda looks like she's the real deal. Like she's got the whole game. And I think the No Laying Up guys talked about this over the weekend about just how watching the LPGA ladies, watch them swing. I mean, it's aspirational stuff. Like they've got the best golf swings, and they are fantastic to watch. And I enjoyed it. I watched a lot more LPGA than I did PGA on the weekend this week.
Yeah, I watched a good amount of the Travelers. I didn't see a ton of, but I did follow it, and no surprise, Nelly Korda comes out on top. And I was rubbing my hands together, Johnny Manziel style, because Nelly Korda cashed in. Good for her. Anytime these gals are cashing in, they really do deserve it. And the pots aren't too bad on the girls tour. I mean, that's come a long way.
It's coming a long way.
I think there's other sports that are kind of trailing behind, and golf has done a good job despite. What I feel like the average golf fan isn't watching a ton of gals golf. There's a lot of good things going on in that space. And one thing, speaking of no laying up, when I don't remember who the player was, she's a tall, lanky European gal, and they followed her for her whole week. Unfortunately, she didn't make the cut.
Yeah, Madeline Sagstrom.
Yep, Sagstrom. I would pay huge money to see that from a male player, but it's probably never going to happen. That's why it's so fun to get someone like Tim Merritt on the podcast, because you get that inside look that we really don't get into the PGA Tour. It just doesn't exist. So I enjoyed that. If you haven't seen that, No Laying Up followed around Madeline Sagstrom, who is a previous LPGA Tour winner. She's a really good player. Unfortunately, the week that they followed her, she was the reigning champion, but it was at a different course. It was rain-soaked. She didn't play that well. She didn't make the cut, but it was still fun to see a couple of rounds from a pro and get inside of their head. You were even close enough to see, their meals before and after and in between, and speak a lot to her caddie and the mindset of coming in as a defending champion. So highly recommend that if you haven't seen that, reach out to us and we'll send you the link.
And she's a great watch anyway.
Nelly Korda, congratulations.
Absolutely. Nelly Korda was fantastic. And I just think they got a good product. They really do. I wish their TV would give them better coverage. Like I really was disappointed, that so much of it was on Peacock Premium, I don't mind them using the Peacock platform. I think that's great, but I wish they do more with that platform. Give us more chances to watch feature groups, stuff like that. I wish they do more with that space that they have. I'd like to see them utilize that a little more and give the girls more time. I'd be 100% in on that. And good luck. They're at the Volunteers of America in Texas this week. I hope that goes well. I have also got Nelly Korda. Week after winning, I have her in my my pool this week as well. So we'd be remiss if we didn't say something about that. So we had to do that. So good job, Nelly Korda. And we continue to be fans of the LPGA on this podcast as well. Thank you very much. Oh, I got to also close with this, Ty, on the Travelers before we put a button on that and move to the Rocket Mortgage. I had Bubba. I felt good about Bubba last week, and he really was playing well, and I thought he was going to win this thing. Another example of just maybe there's something I'm not appreciating about back nine Sunday pressure. Because even a guy who's won 12 times on tour like Bubba, it ate him up. His stretch at the end was as brutal as it gets. I think did he bogey his last 5?
Yeah, the shot he hit on whatever that short par 4, which I love, that iron he hit off the tee was abysmal. I mean, you just can't have that from a PGA Tour player to take iron, take less club, and just completely saw the ball off and hit it into the water is really not acceptable. I don't know. You and I have talked a lot about this. They're just, and maybe that's the common denominator to what we're talking about it being kind of a weird year, is there's just not a lot of closers on tour. Jon Rahm, for the most part, went and got his major, but majors aside, these tournaments that have big fields, no one seems to want to go get it, and we week after week seem to be getting the guy who just kind of just played well enough to hoist the trophy and cash the check, and it's a little bit disappointing. I'm not quite sure what the situation is there, but it certainly is a pretty solid trend. It's maybe we're just spoiled because we had Tiger and he had a 54-hole lead and it was a wrap.
Like, that guy was the Mariano Rivera of golf. Like, nobody will ever touch Tiger as far as his ability to close with 54 holes. I'd like to see somebody with a 54-hole lead get on a run where, like, yeah, they get a 54-hole lead. I feel good that they're going to close it. Right now, there's not a guy on tour with a 54-hole lead that I'm like, yeah, he's going to win. I don't feel comfortable with any 50. I don't want to be a 54-hole leader because I don't believe I can win at this point.
Yeah, you're right. We're seeing the winner come from, has it been 3-4 weeks in a row now? There's been a clubhouse leader that has a legitimate chance to win the tournament. And I'm talking early clubhouse leader, someone who goes out before the wind gets up, before the course gets trampled down, before the greens dry out, and they're putting up a number and they're having a chance to win. And that's just not typically how it goes with all the star power we have on tour right now. Typically there's enough firepower on the leaderboard that those guys don't have a chance even going out and posting a good number. But lately they have. I'm kind of at a little bit of a loss for what the issue is, but it seems to be happening week in and week out.
How many guys do you think, a couple of names just off the top of my head here, are there some guys that you're concerned about, like good players, really good, like top 10 guys right now in the world, that you're like, I'm not sure it's going to happen for them this year?
Just this year specifically?
Yeah, just this year. I mean, I'm not saying they're done forever, although maybe they are in some cases. Yeah. Like, I think with Rory, I think we're all a little concerned here.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like, the case of a Dustin Johnson, I believe he's going to figure this out, but this is a really cold stretch of golf.
Yeah, outside of the obvious ones like a Rory or I mean, I think I don't see JT putting it together anytime soon. I think even further than JT is DJ. I think DJ is further away from. Again, he'll get it back, but to get it back enough that you're winning majors consistently, there's just no guarantee of that. And I honestly think, as we've talked about in the past, but this is a little bit of a different angle, I don't know that Bryson DeChambeau is all that close. Now, maybe he'll come out and win this week at Rocket Mortgage. He seems to like this course, but I'm not sure that him and DJ and JT are all that close right now.
And Koepka seems a little weird too. Like, it's really hit and miss with him. Like, he's around, and then there's times he just totally disappears. Spieth has had a weird couple of weeks after a pretty steady start to the season. I mean, it's just weird. Just a weird year right now, that what we're seeing. And I agree. I'm concerned. Also, this week is the Irish Open. Speaking of Rory McIlroy, we should point that out. First real links look in a long time. I'm actually really excited to get up early tomorrow morning, and while I'm teaching at summer school, have some Irish Open on in the background. I'm pretty excited for this, but this is a big test for Rory. I need to see him play well this week, don't you?
Yeah, really nice field, and Rory has the track record at the Irish Open. I love any time I can wake up and watch important golf, especially on the weekend. And there's names that I know I'm excited for it. So that's part of the reason I really like the Open Championship. But yeah, I'm excited to watch the Irish Open because it's a star-studded field. Unfortunate for the Rocket Mortgage Classic, but I'll probably have more eyes on the Irish Open than the Rocket Mortgage Classic.
That might be true. All right, let's talk Rocket Mortgage Classic. That's a good transition to that. It is a half-decent field for the Rocket Mortgage. I think it's probably their best one. Out of the 3 years they've had this championship, I think this is the best of the three fields they've had.
Right.
It's pretty good at the top. First of all, the golf course. It's a Donald Ross. It's an old-school golf course. We've seen two different kinds of winners. Yeah, it's a country club of Detroit. That's right, country club of Detroit. Which you wouldn't feel like is, I mean, I have not seen this, but I like these old styles. I like Donald Ross stuff. I really do. Like, I love Pinehurst. I love some of these courses. Two different kinds of winners have won here. Nate Lashley, who is a fader, not a bomber. He won here 2 years ago. Great story. Last year it was DeChambeau. And he lit the place up and went bananas and just bludgeoned this place with driver wedge and putted crazy. So we've seen a lot of different kinds of golfers win here. I mean, does that help us at all heading into this week, or is this wide open again like last week?
Yeah, watching the player interviews, I think that's always the most telling because those are the guys that are on the course. Those are the guys who are actually going to be going out and putting the test on paper. But The players seem very confident that this is going to be a very gettable course this week. So I think you kind of need to shift your focus to not guys who can make pars, but like we've been talking about lately, but all of a sudden guys who can go out and make birdies in a hurry, guys who can go out and shoot 63, 64 on Thursday, Friday. So it's definitely a different type track. And when I was talking about country club, it's just kind of your classic country club course, very green, very suiting to the eye. It's all about, it's not necessarily about a tremendous test, but it is about, your old rich white dudes going out and shooting good scores and feeling good about themselves. That's country club golf. So Bryson was very vocal this week that he likes these types of courses. Webb Simpson says he likes these types of courses. It's going to take a type of person. It's not going to be like I said, someone who can protect par, but there's certain players on tour that probably just don't have a ton of ability to go out there and make birdies in a hurry like other players can. It's going to be a player like that that's going to come out on top.
Field this week. By the way, Ben On, not happy. He's, again, teeing off very early tomorrow morning for like the fourth time in 8 weeks, and he's got a good case. I'm sorry. That's unacceptable. Like, for competitive balance purposes, now I understand, well, if he wins more, he'd get in the TV window, and I can respect that. But for competitive balance purposes, you should not be the first guy off every morning for all of these tournaments on a Thursday. Like, getting up at 3:45 every morning, being the first guy on the course, not fair. Sorry. He's 100% right.
Yeah, I didn't do the homework on it. I just, did like everyone else and read the headline. And you probably were scouting my Facebook out, planning for the show. But I commented and said, go out and win, and you won't have to worry about it. So you're speaking to you're preaching to the choir here. But yeah, if he's the first person out, a number of weeks in a row, that's not that, but it is a priority thing, and players who put butts in seats and players who win are going to tend to get the better tee times. It's just kind of how it's always gone.
But there's got to be guys, like, you can rotate. Ben On's a good player. Like, we're not talking about just some dude who Monday qualified. Like, to me, Monday qualifiers should be taking these first tee times every week. Like, that's who should get the spot. And they wouldn't care. You're right. Yeah. They wouldn't care. So like Tan Lee or whatever it is who was a Monday qualifier this week, hey man, congratulations, you tee off at 5:45 on Thursday morning. Hey man, sounds good. But that should be how they do this instead of sticking it to a guy who's a top 50 player in the world. Anyway.
Right.
The field this week, DeChambeau headlines, Matsuyama's in the field, Patrick Reed's in the field, Webb Simpson, Will Zalatoris, Jason Kokrak, Kevin Kisner, Sungjae Im, Matt Wolff, Jason Day, Bubba Watson, Ricky Fowler, Phil Mickelson, Gary Woodland, Garrick Higgo, Max Homa. It's a pretty solid top part of this draw this week. Should be a lot of fun to watch and a lot of different kinds of golfers. So I'm kind of interested to see what style wins out this time.
Right, me too. Newsflash. We talked about it last week. Matthew Wolff is not back. I think he needs to take like a triple sabbatical or something else because he is not back.
We talked about it. Well. Was it trend or mirage? Looks like a mirage, right?
Yep.
It's you see the Coke machine off in the distance, and you think, oh my god! You see a pop machine, you're like, that's it. It's a Coke machine, and it's one of those that does 85,000 flavors. I'm so excited, and you get up there, and it's like the Walmart generic brand soda pop machine where it's Dr. Thunder. And if you think you're getting Dr. Pepper, you get Dr. Thunder. And that's what's happening right now with Matt Wolff. I'm rooting for him. I want it to happen. It didn't look.
Me too.
It didn't look like it was there this week.
Same. Yep.
All right, let's get to the picks. Let's go to the picks. As always, Ty and I pick a roster every week based on the budget that they offer on the daily fantasy sites. We try to put our best six together. Ty is always the guy who leads off because he's my friend.
I appreciate that, Tim. I had expensive taste this week. I went with the defending champion Bryson DeChambeau for $12,200. It's hard to argue with past results, and I think this course is just very gettable for him. And listening to him this week, he's very confident that he's going to go out and play well. And whether he wins or not, I think he'll be there in the end.
Yeah, I think you're right. I look forward to seeing what he can do. I think he's there for me. I have Bryson DeChambeau at $12,200 as well as my first pick. Very excited to see what he does in defense. Worst case with Bryson, I feel like at worst he's going to make the cut. Like, you don't see him missing the cut here, right? Like, you just, I don't see it.
Yeah, he's sort of either been really in contention or made the cut on the number and then made a nice little run on Saturday and Sunday. That's just kind of been the MO for Bryson this year. So yeah, it's hard to imagine he totally flops, any given week, especially at a course that he's proven it.
His wedge game and putting have not been as good as they were last year. I mean, I think that's the difference. He's driving the ball pretty far still, like as far as anybody, but his wedge game and putter are just not requisite of championship golf at this point. They're not that good. Second pick.
So I went with the hot hand. I went with someone who played well at the Travelers. Not necessarily the same course, but I think gettable in some of the same ways. I went with Jason Day for 10,800.
I don't know what to make of Jason Day. Here's the thing. I'm sympathetic because I like guys who just go out there and play. But he's hurt all the damn time. All the time. So here's where I'm at. If you're hurt, don't play. But if you're going to play, play. And stop doing the slow walk and stop doing the barely getting the ball out of the hole and all of that stuff. Because this back drama has been there longer than Tiger's back drama. And at some point, you either got to figure it out. You take 6 months, take a year off, do what you got to do to figure it out. You've made a lot of money. Get the back right so that you can go out here and play golf. But if you can't get it, then if you know you're going to play in pain all the time, then just play in pain and shut up about it. But I just feel like we get a lot of WDs.
I'm hoping that the results at the Travelers, he didn't play great on Sunday, but he was certainly in the mix all week. I'm hoping that lends to his health, and hopefully it leads to a good performance at the Detroit Golf Club.
See, what I'm scared of is you'll get a WD out of him, because
there's always a chance of that.
He's good for a WD, like once a month. He's already WD'd like 3 times this year, so it's like, again, come on, guy. If you're hurt, don't play. I'm sympathetic. I don't want you to play in pain. I don't want you to, but if you're gonna sign up and tee up, I just go play. If you can't play, then don't play. My second pick, Tim Merritt's favorite player, Patrick Reed. 11,800. P. Reed. I feel like he's due for a good week here, and this is a kind of course that I think suits Patrick Reed. I feel like this kind of game where he's hitting the draw, and he's worked a little fade into his game now, which is kind of fun to watch. He is a shot maker. He's got more artistry than guys like Bryson does. I feel like that might play well in a course like this where Donald Ross greens, where you're going to have to do a lot of, chipping off tight lies and stuff like that, and Reed might be one of the best guys for that.
Yeah, my issue with Reed is I don't know if there's enough on the line for this tournament. He has a little bit of Brooks Koepka in him where he tends to think, if I win, is this going to piss off enough people? And if the answer is no, they don't tend to play as well. So that's my only reservation with him. But yeah, never a bad pick, certainly.
All right, number 3.
So I went with the poster boy for this tournament, Rocket Mortgage. Rocket Mortgage, as you probably know, everybody knows, is partnered with State Farm. So shout out Rocket Mortgage. I went with Ricky Fowler. Pressure's on for him. A lot of eyes are going to be on him. He's all over the lead-in commercials for the tournament. 10,500. I got Ricky Fowler on my team.
Did they send you like a life-size cardboard cutout of Ricky to put in your office?
They haven't, but if they did, I'd put him in every office.
Have them send you one. Get on the phone with somebody over at Rocket Mortgage and see if they'll take care of that for you. Because I got to imagine they got those laying around.
I will.
There you go. I'm gonna start to gamble a little bit this week, Ty. I went a little top heavy, so now I have to go. Now I have to gamble a little bit. I'm gonna take a guy who did play well last week, played really well last week, and a guy whose game I think has got a little microwave to it, where he can just get hot and really play well for a stretch. I'm gonna take Hank Lebioda, lefty, power hitter, had a good week last week. Kind of got, and he's got a good personality, got some game. I'm a big Hank Lebioda fan.
You and your cats. That's it. That's the list.
That's the list. And not even Hank's mom likes Hank Leviota. Just me and my 2 cats. That's it.
Yep.
All right. You're fourth.
All right. I went back to the well with my 4th pick. I still think he's primed to win. I haven't seen anything that shows that he's out of vogue. But Keegan Bradley, $10,400.
Yeah, you are hanging around that 10 grand area, getting a lot of high end guys this week. Again, tee to green. I don't know 5 guys who are having a better year than Keegan Bradley. Tee to green, like he's off the tee. He's been really good, and I think he strikes his irons really well. Boy, he can't putt. Like if he could, you just think about it. If he could be just an average putter, he'd win like 3 times on tour a year. The belly putter was a killer for him. If he could have belly putted, how many tournaments would Keegan Bradley have won?
Well, I think you said it. I think probably 3 tournaments a year. That's probably the category I have him in.
I'm going to take my 4th pick. It's a bit of a kiss up here this week, but I'm taking Troy Merritt at 8,800. I'm running out of loot here a little bit, and partly for the reason my theory was confirmed by Tim on the podcast. I said he seems like he likes these sort of tree-lined, old-school golf courses. What is this? It's an old-school tree-lined golf course. I just think that it's not a super long course. I think it's right up his alley. And he's playing good golf. Like, he's making cuts. He's hanging around. He made a run towards the top of the leaderboard last week at the Travelers in round 3. He's playing well. Give me Troy Merritt here. 8,800. It's a steal.
Yeah, it would have been a shame if nobody picked him. So thank you for taking him off my hands there. But yeah, I agree. He is one of those guys. Not being a long player, he's one of those guys who can make a lot of birdies. When he won the was it Quicken Loans? When he won the Quicken Loans, I think he shot 61 or 62 to get in contention. So he's a guy who can go out and post a number. So I certainly wouldn't dog you for that pick.
And Quicken Loans is Rocket Mortgage. I mean, they're the same thing. So there's good vibes. It's simpatico. He won the Quicken Loans. He needs the Rocket Mortgage now to really complete this thing.
Right.
And then if they could just get a State Farm Classic or something like that, he could complete the trifecta, and man, it'd be good.
I would be in on that, the State Farm Classic. I'll get us volunteer passes for that one when it comes to a course near you.
All right, so you took here we go. Number 5. Who's your 5th?
All right, so I didn't have as much money left due to my expensive taste. This is just someone who I thought was a good price for a guy who really has a good chance of making the cut. I went with Joel Damon for 8,400.
Yeah, I like
Don't
that.
hate Joel Damon.
I like Joel Damon. I like that. That's good value right there for Joel Damon. And I think he hasn't had a great year. I think he's due. Like, I know he won earlier, but other than the win in the opposite field event, it's been a little bit of a struggle for him. Be good to see him, kind of start to string some good weeks together. I think he's due. Joel's a good player. He's a really good player. All right, I had a little money after saving on Leviota and Merritt, so I went 11,200 and took Joaquin Niemann. He's going to win, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's going to win in the next few weeks.
It's been a while since one of us have taken him. He was a mainstay, and then he decided he didn't need to play hard because he had made it as far as our podcast is concerned. So, always a good pick. Certainly has a chance to win. But as we always say, I just kind of need to see it from him.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there too. At some point, he is in the. We almost should have that next week on the pod. Of we need to have a gotta see it group. Like we gotta have a gotta see it draft from guys. Like, we're not going to call them great players until we see something. And then we got to figure out what degree that is. Joaquin's one of those guys. I won't call him a great player until I got to see something. All right, last pick.
So I went scrolling down the board, and I was looking for an anomaly. I was looking for a cut maker with the amount of money I had. $7,900 left. Found someone that stood out to me. Had made 15 of 25 cuts this season. $7,700. So I'm going into the game with $200. Don't know much about him, but Adam Schenk is on my team this week.
It's hard to have a guy named Schenk on your team. It's really difficult to have that. But actually, I don't know if he's having a great year. But I mean, I don't think he's been he has had steady years. Like, he's been a top 125 guy for the last couple of years on the tour, I do believe. So, I mean, he has played well. So, hey, man, go get it. My last pick, I'm taking an amateur. I'm taking a guy that he might still be an amateur, but I think he's still an amateur. I don't think he's turned pro yet. But out of all these Oklahoma State guys that have turned pro over the last handful of years, Hovland, Chris Ventura, Matthew Wolf, I kind of like this guy too. I don't know if he's on the Hovland level yet, but I think he's there with the Wolves and all those guys. I'll take Austin Eckroat, who's for 7,800 to make the cut here this week. I do think he will be on the tour within a year. I do think he's going to be another one of these young hitters that makes things happen and comes out and is flashy early with his big game off the tee. He's a fun player to watch. I've watched some college golf, and every time I've watched college golf, Oklahoma State's been there, and Austin Eckroat's been one of the better players.
There you go.
So it's a kind of an eclectic group this week, Ty. You and I have kind of scouted around a little bit here. We're trying some different names. We're throwing some different stuff up against the wall. I like it. Good to see variety, my friend.
Exactly.
Anybody that you like to win it, who's winning this week?
It's probably going to be Patrick Reed, Bryson DeChambeau, Hideki Matsuyama. I'm going top heavy on that, but my prediction is it's going to be one of those three.
All right. So finally, a big name guy going to finally close the deal on something this week. That would be refreshing. Oh, right. That would be downright refreshing, I have to tell you what. Oh, we're getting into Ty. We're getting into Ty's favorite time of year, July 4th weekend. Ty, I hope you have a great 4th of July. I don't know if you're going out with the family or if you're eating. By the way, as a guy who doesn't eat a lot of meat, what's your July 4th food of choice?
No, I do. That's about 2 years in the rear view.
Oh, congratulations. We haven't talked about that. We might have to dedicate a whole pod to that. Good Lord. We don't have time. But yeah. What's the go-to on the 4th of July?
Well, so we're going to be up north for about 5 nights, so we just did the meal planning. But the things I'm looking forward to are we're going to do ribs, we're going to do pork belly burn ends, some chicken quarters. We got lots of stuff on the docket, so I'm looking forward to all of that. Homemade potato salad, yeah. How about you?
Oh, my goodness. All of that sounds amazing. You know, I'm kind of a cold – I like it. Obviously, a good hot dog or a burger is just fine with me on the 4th of July, I must say. But I'm in on, like, cold pasta salads for some reason. When I think 4th of July, I think, like, give me a cold pasta salad, and I'm on board with that. Like, because it's usually hot. Usually very hot outside, and I don't want something that's going to be super heavy, especially when I try to sneak out of the family gathering and get around to golf in. I don't want to be weighed down by heavy food, so I need something light.
You got to mix those in. Certainly, I'm in on that.
I hope you have a great 4th of July. My best to the family, best to the wife and kids, and we will be back again next Wednesday. We will chat again as we gear up for, I don't know what tournaments after this. Is this the WGC next week? Where are we going? John Deere? Not John Deere. It's got to be the WGC then.
When's 3M?
It's after the Open, right before the Olympics. It's just a horseshit spot in the schedule, but it's still going to be fun. We're going. I'm going. You're going. It's going to be a great time. Cannot wait to go. But I don't know what next week is, but we can't wait to talk about it when we get to that point. We'll check the schedule. It's Ty. You can find us anywhere where you get your podcasts. Continue to share us out, like us, comment. You can send me an email, timpodcast1@yahoo.com. I would take it. It would be great, and I would be appreciative. Thank you very much. So for Ty, thanks to Tim Merritt again for coming on our podcast this week. Tim, you're welcome anytime. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for being here. For Ty, for Tim, this is Tim. Until next time, I'm saying keep your head up, and we'll see you.